What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the GSN Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, John J. II. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on a Thursday, the 11th of June, 2026. And wow, it's been a minute, okay? Give us a break. We've been dealing with some business over here at GSN. It's been busy, but no excuses. No excuses. No excuses over here on my behalf. We're going to continue trucking along, moving through summer, through the ups and downs. And listen, it's busy. Everybody's busy. Everybody's dealing with something. Everybody has things going on. Life is busy, and it's only going to get more busy the older you get, or so I've been told. So we're going to move forward. We got a great show in store for you guys tonight. A lot to cover. It's been a minute, as I mentioned previously, and there's a lot to cover, a lot to go over tonight on a Thursday. 9:45 on the East Coast. We got a World Cup match coming up at 10 p.m. between Korea and Czechia. Earlier, we had the World Cup embark. They had a great ceremony. They had a great production, basically going over who's in the World Cup. They had the flag ceremony. They had a musical number that was done. Andrea Bocelli was present doing that musical number. DNA as the essentially the anthem for the World Cup. As many of you know, it's taking place in North America, so the host countries being obviously the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The first game was between Mexico and South Africa today, where Mexico took it 2-0, making a statement early. And it's always difficult to be the first team to play in a World Cup. Nerves are high, emotions are running high. There were 3 red cards in the game. It kind of shows how much is at stake in this year's World Cup in 2026. A lot is at stake. And if you're a host nation, your name is going to be at the top of the list of expected teams to win, or at least make it deep in the knockout rounds. So it's going to be sparks are going to be flying. Let's just put it that way. Going into the weekend, you got USA and Paraguay tomorrow night at 9 p.m. And we're getting into the thick of it with early group stage matches. So I'm hoping we can cover that in its entirety as much as possible here at GSN. I'm looking forward to it. I love the World Cup, and many people give me a lot of flack for it. Yo, John, why do you like soccer so much? Did you ever play soccer? I answer that yes. I played AYSO when I was growing up. I had several goals, okay? I had a lot of fun playing it. And, growing up playing football, okay, American football, you might catch a little bit of flack. We talk trash about the soccer players. We call them foot fairies, all right? But you got to give credit where credit is deserved. I've grown to really appreciate the game from a young age, relatively young age. I remember getting the game FIFA 12 for Christmas. I played it like crazy, put a lot of hours on that game. I really enjoyed that game. So I've really grown to love the world sport, which is known by every nation to man, and that is football, or soccer, as we call it here in the States. But it's a great game. It's a beautiful game. The World Cup obviously being the largest soccer event in the world. It's essentially the name speaks itself into existence. It is the World Cup. It is the biggest event for international football. So that has to be regarded highly, whether you're a soccer fan or not. So I'm looking forward to getting into these games a little bit more in depth, diving into them, diving into the matchups, at least in the group stages. And you got to take the group stage with a little bit of grain of salt, because there's teams that might win on paper and should win 9 times out of 10 on paper that might not win on any given night. So you got to be expecting that, expect those upsets, kind of like March Madness in a lot of ways. You have teams that are playing each other that might play each other every once in a while in an international friendly, but they might not play each other all the time. For example, the Copa America, you got the Euros. Okay, you got several events that are like that are more inter-nation based. So you're going to see that take place, and these matchups are obviously, you're only going to see them in a situation like this, or if you see a international friendly take place, then you'll see those matchups obviously take place. I'm really interested to see. I want to ask my footy people out there. AP3, I'm shouting you out right now. I got to know why. I just have to know why do they have international friendlies leading right up to the World Cup. I'm talking days. I'm talking within a couple of days, you're seeing teams that are playing in the World Cup are competing in international friendlies. And a lot of times, you're seeing these teams play their starting players. Their starting 11 will be on the field for these international friendlies, which really don't mean a lot. You can call them warm-up games or exhibition games for the World Cup. And be it as it may, it's a big deal. It's still competition. It's still competitive soccer. But I just want to know why they do it and why these teams possibly risk injury. I love to see it. I love to see it. I love to see these teams compete and play and have these starting players play and compete. I just want to know why they do it so close to the World Cup taking place and embarking. Just a quick question. Just a quick question for the people. General question. I don't know. There might not be an answer to it. But be it as it may, I need to know the answer to it. And maybe there's not one, but we're going to ask it anyway. So my soccer fiends out there, help me out. I got to figure that one out. So the GSN Sports Network Challenge 7 took place this past weekend, if you didn't know. And it was a great event, great turnout, great cause. The Thomas Smith Memorial Foundation, a great cause here in mid-Michigan in the Flushing area and nearby vicinity. Does a lot of great work, as I plug them all the time here on this podcast and elsewhere on social media. They do a lot of great work for the community, identifying and diagnosing heart ailments in children, young athletes, and even adults that might not know they had an issue otherwise. So they do heart screenings. They provide AEDs to schools and local communities and community centers where there's a lot of people congregating, sporting events, etc., community, government, local government events, government offices. They do it all over the place, and their numbers are growing as far as AEDs donated to these facilities and locations that don't have AEDs, which is kind of crazy. But there's several locations and places in the community, and maybe in your community, that don't have an AED present and accessible in case of an emergency. Actually, they just made a post. The area is blanking me at the moment, but they just had a life-saving effort made by one of the AEDs that was donated by the Thomas Smith Memorial Foundation. So they're doing great work, and they're saving lives. Literally, in reality, in real time, in this day and age, they're saving lives, making a difference in the community. So that's what this event seeks to benefit, and that's what it does, and that's what we're happy to support the last several years and continue on in the future. But we have a champion to crown, and those champions have been crowned. That is Foltz and Foltz, which is Kevin Foltz and Ben Foltz. They win it in 2 playoff holes, coming in the clubhouse at 6 under. Beating out last year's competitors, Lang and Cowan, which they fought to the bitter end. We played hole 10, and then we played 11, and they clinched it on hole 11 with a birdie against their par. So it was a battle to the finish, a battle to the bitter end, battle of gladiators, really is what it was, and they played together all day. So it was a true battle, a true competition at its finest, and we love to see a playoff in the GSN Sports Network Challenge 7, and it's a great thing. It's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing about the 2-man scramble format is having 2 teams battle it out in one foursome. That's why we always do the hashtags GTTM, which means grow the 2-man, and we want to plaster that all over the place because we really want to grow the presence of 2-man outings. They are the vast minority when it comes to golf outings as a whole, not only in Michigan, but that goes all over the place. And I have seen more. In years past pop up. I've seen them populate. I've seen them grow in numbers in talking about the amount of events that take place in my networks and my pages that I follow that plaster golf outings on their page and their community. So it's a great thing. It's a blessing to see the 2-man format be grown and to see those events manifest themselves in reality. And it's really a beautiful thing. So I hope they can continue to grow and hope we can continue to hold the 2-man outing, which is the GSNC. And it's a great thing. Got to do a quick plug here for the Rocket Classic and my boy over there at Rocket, Carter McCullen. He generously, Rocket Mortgage, generously donated 4 passes for entry into the Rocket Classic this year in Detroit and 4 parking passes for all 4 days of the event. That was presented to the winners of the GSNC 7. So I'm blessed to be able to provide that award and blessed to be able to receive that award to then redistribute it to the winners of the event. But big thank you to Rocket Mortgage and the Rocket Classic Committee on donating that to our event. So big props to Rocket. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys. You guys do a lot of great work. And you guys do a lot of great things for your communities as well. And especially, me being a realtor, I work close by with many lenders that do work with Rocket Mortgage. So big shout out to Rocket. I can't shout their name from the rooftops enough for all the good work they do in the state of Michigan. So not to go backwards, but to talk about the U.S. men's national team. Now, obviously, Alexi Lalas, you've seen him talk. You've seen the talking heads talk about the U.S. men's national team, the changes that they've made, and the scrutiny they've received over the years when you're talking about the expectations, the lack thereof of production that we've seen from the United States men's national team in years past. Now, obviously, when you're comparing them to the women's national team, they're on different playing fields. You're talking about different parallels that really can't be compared effectively. But you still look at them as being a force in world football. And they need to be. They need to be held to a higher standard. They need to be held to a certain caliber of competition. And when you're talking about the granddaddy of them all with soccer events, you're talking about the World Cup, you're talking about being the host nation, you're talking about the aura surrounding being the host nation and the expectations surrounding you and your team, regardless of how you amount up against the field as far as competition and caliber of play. You have a higher standard to live up to. So will they get it done? Will they make it happen? It all starts with Paraguay tomorrow at 9 p.m. In Inglewood, California at SoFi Stadium. The crowd is going to be electric. There's going to be high expectations, high emotions, because if you win the first game, that sets the tone for the rest of the group stage. And what does that do? That sets the tone for going into the knockout stages and into, obviously the later rounds of the event. And it's a month-long event, so it's a long, long run. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So you got to take that into account. We're not going to scrutinize the U.S. men's national team here tonight. But going into future episodes of the GSN pod, we're going to look at them a little bit closer. And obviously, we're going to judge them after they play their couple matches in the beginning of the group stage. Where do they stand? Where do they rank against the rest of the teams in their group stage? You got the USA, you got Paraguay, you got Australia, and you got Turkey. Okay, Turkey. Listen, I know that they have a squad. Let's just put it that way. And talking about world football, I'm not too familiar with Australia. I'm not too familiar with Paraguay. But when we're talking about Turkey, they have a squad. We've seen that they have a squad. We've watched them compete in world events before, in international friendlies, and so on. They have a squad. So they're going to be the biggest competitor that the U.S. will face in the group stage. But you got to make it in the top 2 to get it to the knockout rounds. So just making those top 2 spots, you got a 50% chance of doing so. Make it happen. Get the job done. That's all I'm going to say. It's all I've been saying for a long time. Moving on to the Detroit Tigers. Now, everybody's been talking about Tariq Skubal. Okay, Tariq Skubal supposedly needs Tommy John surgery, elbow surgery. How quick can you heal from elbow surgery? I know it's been probably a month since we've been hearing about the drought that the Detroit Tigers have faced with all the injuries, the slew of injuries that they faced in weeks past. But how are they going to make it happen? How are they going to get the job done? Should Tariq come back right now? Now, we all know that they've been on quite a bit of a losing streak. They recently broke that losing streak. You can call it a fluke. You can call it whatever you want. But the biggest thing is, and why I have the biggest question marks and they're flying all over the place in my head, is because why are we leaning so hard on one guy or a couple guys? You should be able to, in the Major League Baseball world, you should be able to lean on the rest of your team. Help your team out when your big men are down and they're not feeling well or they're injured or they're under the weather. You got to pick up the pieces and figure it out, okay? You're talking about Major League Baseball. You're talking about a professional baseball league a franchise that's time-tested, that has been a force in world baseball for a long time. And to not live up to that caliber, even when your big guys are down, it's sad. It's sad to see because that means you have no backbone. That means you have nothing to fall back on and no reserves to really count on when those big names are out of the picture. So I'm hoping they can figure it out. He is coming back to play against the Guardians this weekend, so hopefully they can figure that out, and hopefully Skubal can stay healthy for the remainder of the season and build a presence to be able to make it to the playoffs. I know it's been tough for Detroit sports, okay? We're going to talk about the Red Wings here in a second, but it's been really tough sledding for the entirety of Detroit sports. I don't even want to talk about the Detroit Pistons because they made me sick to my stomach losing that Game 7. And I was actually in Mexico at the time, and they have a sports bar there, and there was Cleveland Cavaliers fans, and I couldn't even look at them. And at the same time, it's like I'm wearing my Isaiah Thomas jersey. Okay, I'm thinking back to the old days, the good old days of Detroit Pistons basketball, Detroit basketball, and I have no leg to stand on. Why? Because we get our asses completely kicked in Game 7 at our place. That can't happen. That literally can't happen, especially how well I seen them play in that Game 6. And not to mention that, but you're setting yourself up for failure by getting down games, getting down in the series when you shouldn't be getting down. You can rewind the tape in the same year, same season, same playoff run against the Magic. See how they came back from being in the hole and dug their way out of it. Okay, they figured it out. Then they dominated at LCA in Game 7. We've seen the complete opposite where they basically already had their tickets to Cancun were punched before that game even started. They had a flight to take the next morning, the way they played that game. And it was just absolutely abysmal. Okay, but we're not going to get into that right now. We're talking about Detroit sports. Now we're going to transition in the Red Wings. Larkin wants a trade. Listen, it's bedlam in Detroit right now, and I understand where everybody's coming from. Everybody's talking about the same things. Everybody wants players that are going to believe in the franchise. But what do you need to have? You got to have the glue guys. You got to have the guys that are seeing the promise. Okay, everyone's talking shit about Dylan Larkin requesting the trade, but at the same time, the Red Wings haven't made the playoffs in the last couple of years, and that's tough. That's tough to swallow because you're talking about a force in world sports. There's probably no other team with more championships in the modern era than the Detroit Red Wings. So looking at the expectations, not only from the players, but from the donors, from the owners, from the Ellich family, to the coaches, to the fan base, to people like me, talking heads, talking about these guys, all right? We deserve way more. Everybody deserves way more. And it's just terrible to see a caliber not be met after several years. You're not just talking about 1 year. You're not talking about a fluke year. You're talking about high expectations. You're talking about, elevated status in the world stage. And when that's not being lived up to, and you don't have a bump in the road and then a regression and then a return back to that star status, it's tough to swallow. It's tough to carry on your back. It gets heavy. So that's why you see these things happen. That's why you see Larkin requesting trades. That's why you see the glue guys starting to leave. And I feared that about Cade Cunningham for a long time. Thank God they made somewhat of a run. They should have made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they would have gave the Knicks a hell of a challenge, way more than the Cavs did. The Cavs never should have been there. The Cavs never should have been there. They were riding into the playoffs, well into the playoffs, on the fumes. And they made it. They made a run out of it. So hats off to them. They did the most with what they had. But damn, Detroit sports needs a resurgence. And I don't know what it's going to take, but we talked about it with Robert. You talk about windows of opportunity. You talk about certain times and certain stars aligning. And when you have that perfect storm and it doesn't pan out, at least to some degree, where maybe you don't win the championship, but you made a really damn good run, you can still hang your hat up on that season, on that hook of the season, and be like, you know what, we gave it our all. We got outplayed, but we didn't get the chip, and that's fine. I'm not saying get the chip, but get a berth to win the chip. Okay, you can talk about the Detroit Lions too. Okay, I sound like a broken record talking about those guys. But I'm going to talk about it all the time because this is the state I grew up in. These are the teams that I grew up watching. All right. And these are the teams that I love. I have jerseys for these teams. I've spent money on, jerseys and paraphernalia that surround these teams, these organizations. So you expect to see somewhat of success, a large amount of success with them. So when you see the players lose hope, especially glue guys like Larkin, he grew up in the Detroit Lions or Detroit Red Wings locker room. That franchise built Dylan Larkin into who he is. And when you see the glue guys start to lose faith, that's troubling because they want to make the most of their career. They want to hoist Stanley Cups above their heads and skate across the ice in front of their fans. Even if you went to the University of Michigan, we're not going to hold that against them. There's a bigger movement happening here, and that has to be taken note of because this could happen to all the Detroit franchises across the board. You could see it happen with star-studded players like Amon-Ra St. Brown, glue guys. Okay, I'm talking glue guys. I'm talking Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers. I'm talking Cade Cunningham and others that have become glue guys and have become the modern era bad boys in Detroit basketball. You start to see those guys lose faith in the process. It's troubling. And these guys, they know that they have a finite amount of time in their role at their current athletic ability and stature as an athlete, and they know that they're limited by time, by father time. So they want to make the most of their career. They want to build their legacy. They want to hang championships in the banners and the rafters and have their name be attached to it. They want to take their kids to those games and be like, look at that banner, son or daughter. That was us. So when you don't have that potential and you see them lose faith, that's very troubling for Detroit sports across the board. So whatever the Detroit Red Wings have to do to figure it out, hopefully they do that in the offseason because they need a lot of rebuilding, and a lot of it's mental rebuilding. A lot of it is mentality-based and psychology-based. Get some psychologists, get some sports psychologists in there and talk some sense into these guys because they got to figure it out. They need spiritual guidance on a major level. So at the risk of getting too worked up about this, I'm going to bite my tongue about that aspect of Detroit sports for the rest of the episode. But that is not, we're long ways from being done with that conversation. And I want to know how some other sports fans and Detroit fans, Detroit diehards, and especially those maybe from eras of past that know what it means to be a Detroit Red Wings fan in the early 2000s, in the 90s, in the 80s, okay? Because these guys know what championships feel like, and they got used to it. They got used to it. It became a commonality, especially with the Detroit Red Wings. And that's why I got to put a big spotlight on them. Same can be said about the Detroit Tigers. They've seen it. They've been there. They have those championships. Same with the Pistons in the modern era, 2004 Pistons. They have that. I grew up watching those guys. They know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to a certain extent. Yes, I was a young child. At the same time, I know what it feels like. Okay, and I can remember those days. My dad taking me to the games, and the aura was off the charts. Okay, so we know what it feels like. People older than me definitely know what it feels like. Detroit Lions fans, sorry guys, you probably don't know what it feels like. But you see those windows of opportunity, and those windows only stay open for so long. And that's across the board for all sports. So whatever it's going to take, hopefully they can get it done. I'm pulling for all four of them. Okay, this has to be addressed. This has to be talked about. Golf Johnny segment. I'm just going to put it out there in front of everybody so that we can get this out of the way right now. We're dealing with some serious preseason rust, and we're not even in the preseason. We're getting to the time of year where this is like the perfect time to golf. Yeah, it's hot out. Yeah, it's muggy. Yeah, there's severe weather. But courses are starting to look good. Courses are starting to look like they should be for the rest of the year going into the fall. We're getting almost into mid-season form for the courses. Okay? Now, figuring things out, sometimes it can be tough. You can get into a slump. You can deal with some issues. You can deal with some timing issues. You can deal with some sequencing issues. And this is what I tell everybody that I've been talking to and kind of been venting to. because it's multiple facets of the game. It's not just the driver. It's not just the wedges. It's not just the irons. Okay, it's multiple facets of the game. So when you're dealing with these types of issues, keeping your head up and keeping a strong morale is at the top of your priority list. Make sure you do that if you don't do anything else. I was talking to my golf partner tonight, Seth. Was telling him, hey, golf is easily 95% mental. I know some people say 85, some people say 90, some people say 75. It's easily 95%, okay? That's confirmed. So if you don't have it up here figured out, then you might as well not even pick a club up because you are a long ways away from playing good golf. But keeping high morale, keeping your thoughts and spirits high is the most important thing. But also getting back on the horse, getting back to figuring it out, getting back to fundamentals. I was telling people this, and I wish I could emulate this and manifest this. But the more novice golfers that aren't thinking about the intricacies of the swing, the what am I doing with my hands, what am I doing with my arms in the pre-swing, what am I doing at the top of my backswing, how am I firing, how am I loading my lower body and then firing the lower body, and then completing the downswing, maintaining balance and maintaining a closed face, or square face rather, but closing the hands at an opportune time and timing everything right. Can I get back to just swinging the golf club and hitting the ball? Because really, at the end of the day, that's what you have to do. You have to step up to the ball, address it, swing, and hit the ball. That's kind of what it boils down to. That is the most simplified way I can construct a golf swing is step up to the ball, maybe take a practice swing, address the ball, take your time, swing and hit the ball. Okay? Should be that easy. But when you dissect and take every aspect of the swing, I'm talking before you even step out of the cart and say, this is the club I want, or before you even shoot the distance with the rangefinder, you gotta kind of just get to the mentality of, I gotta get to this ball, address the ball, and hit the ball. That's what I have to do. I have to do that no matter how much I simplify it or no matter how much I complicate it. That's what has to be done. So to be able to manifest that simplistic mindset into, I have to address the ball, I have to swing the club, I have to hit the ball, I have to maintain balance. However simple you can make it as simple as possible. You've heard the KISS method, okay? Keep it simple, stupid. That's the name of the game, folks. So having those checkpoints, I think maybe not dissecting into every single stage of the swing and the mentality going into addressing the ball and swinging the club. It's manifesting simplicity in conjunction with all of it. So you can really dissect a swing into a lot of intricacies and dissect it into really small quadrants and stages and pieces. But the more you can simplify that entire thing and have small, easy to remember checkpoints throughout the swing, the better off you're going to be. And I'm speaking into that by existence. We're seeing glimmers of hope. We're seeing resurgence back into the successful level. But I can honestly say I've never been in a slump like I am in right now. And I'm hoping we can get out of it ASAP because we're getting into midseason form and we got to be there. We got to play like it. UFC Freedom 250 is coming up this Sunday, June 14th, 2026. And it is taking place at the White House. Okay, you got big names. You got Ilia Topuria going up against Justin Gaethje. You got Alex Pereira against Cyril Gane. You got Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean O'Malley against Aliman Zahabi. You got a ton of big names. You got Derek Lewis fighting. You got Michael Chandler fighting. You got Bo Nickel. I mean, does it get any better than this? You got Diego Lopez and Steve Garcia. A star-studded matchup, made in heaven, made for us. This is a big deal. This is a large event. This is a huge event. So be on the lookout for this. We might put some projections out there. Be on the lookout. Maybe some bet slips might come out on the Bet with Jen Instagram. I got to talk to my guys and my UFC counterparts and see what they're cooking up for this weekend's event. But this is arguably the biggest UFC event of our lifetime. Just putting that out there. And it's gonna bring the stars out. We're gonna see the stars and stripes, and we're gonna see the stars in the UFC battle it out in the gridiron in the Coliseum, which is the modern octagon. The modern Coliseum is the octagon. So I'm excited for this event. It's gonna be a big one. Can't wait for it. Just to talk about Sasha Zverev, the third worldwide player in men's tennis, wins the French Open. We already talked about it. We put a post out. No Jannik Sinner. Well, he left in the first round. Djokovic got beat out by a teenager in the second round. We're not going to talk about that. We're big Joker Noel fans over here. We're not gonna beat a dead horse talking about that loss. Hopefully he's not done yet. I think he's got one more in the tank. I'd still love to see him win another major. And obviously no Carlos Alcaraz. But you want to talk about a major that basically had Djokovic's name on it. It was this year's Roland Garros. And to see that not pan out, it was disheartening. And to see it go 5 sets was even more disheartening after seeing him go up 2-0 in sets against the Brazilian. But it is what it is. You got to overcome these things. And I think even if he did win it all, it'd have an asterisk next to it, because when you have your other top 2 guys in Sinner and Alcaraz out, you almost got to put an asterisk next to it, because you almost want to beat one of those guys in a final, in a major, and claim that as number 25. And then you can ride off into the sunset on horseback and be happy with your career. So I think that's what he's waiting to do. I think that's what he's holding out to do. But let time be the judge of that. But huge props to Sasha Zverev on the win. Hoisting the big cup. This is a big deal for him. He said he has goals of being the world number 1. He's on his way to doing that. Obviously, he has to contend with the other top guys. And I don't think Joker is done yet. I really don't think he is. I think he's got more gas in the tank. And he's going to play well beyond his years, well beyond the competitors of his era. So he's got his eyes set on 25. I hope he gets it. And we're going to be rooting for Joke when it comes to winning 25. Hopefully he does it and gets it done. I'm really pulling for the guy. But yeah, tennis is... you can say tennis is in a great spot right now. You have a lot of great youth coming up in the sport and making a name for themselves. Upsets are happening. Players that were at the top that seemed, unbeatable. Okay, I put Jannik Sinner in that category. Essentially unbeatable in world tennis compared to anybody else. Yeah, he was dealing with some issues and dealing with some health things, but you still beat Jannik Sinner in the first round of a major. You got to be proud of that, regardless of health, regardless of how you're feeling, or if you got a stomach ache, or if you didn't sleep well the last night or two. This is world tennis, so you got to play the highest caliber possible and live up to the moment. But a lot of great youth, a lot of great names that are essentially no names right now are making names for themselves in the sport, and it's a beautiful thing. So I'm looking forward to everything that can happen in world tennis. Tennis is a great sport, okay? I never played tennis competitively, seriously. I might have picked up a racket here or two and played with some guys that played in high school. They kicked my ass, all right? But I have fun playing it. I prefer table tennis or pickleball. That's kind of what my strong suit is, more than traditional tennis. But be it as it may, a great sport nonetheless, a beautiful sport nonetheless. So good deal. I'm rambling on. I'm on a hot streak right now. But I'm going to leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to check us out on social media, at Gin Sports Network on IG, at Gin Promotions on IG. Follow me on IG and Twitter, at Gin Commish. And check us out on our website, ginsportsnetwork.com, and find our link tree in the bottom of the podcast in the description for all of our links and all of our social media outlets. For now, I'm John J. II with the Gin Sports Network podcast. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.